Huge thank you to Toyota of Naperville for letting me borrow the car in this video. Toyota of Naperville is one of the largest Toyota dealers in Illinois, ready to find the right car for you.
Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2022 Hyundai Elantra SEL. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline-4 and down below is a CVT. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Hyundai Elantra because it's been a couple of years since I've done an Elantra. Now I've done an 09 and a mid-20 teens, which I wasn't really much of a fan of. However, I am actually quite a fan of this car and I'm excited to share that with you today. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackprato.com, where you can buy stickers and other merchandise when it becomes available. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you can get a video of your car just like this one. And you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 2-liter under the hood. Well, it's nothing special at all. It's not turbocharged, it's not anything crazy, and it only pumps out about 147 horsepower. However, that means that it is relatively efficient and gets 30 miles to the gallon in the city, 40 miles to the gallon on the highway. Now, of course, that is helped out by that CVT transmission, helps keep it in the sweet spot of efficiency, but it is fine. Unfortunately, I can't really give you an acceleration test today because the test track is completely frozen over, and so it wouldn't be a good showing of this car's power. Like I said, paired to it is a CVT, meaning continuously variable transmission, and it's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of CVTs. I don't love them. However, most manufacturers are doing CVTs, so it's just pretty much par for the course at this point. But how does it feel to actually drive the Elantra? What's it like? Well, the actual driving experience is rather lackluster. It does feel a little underpowered. Now, of course, there is the Elantra N that you can go up to that's a fire-breathing sedan, but this is not that, and so it's not fire-breathing. It's rather fire-adjacent, if I'm honest. Visibility is decently good. It does have kind of thick A-pillars, but you're going to find that in pretty much all modern cars. The steering is actually a nice feeling, not too heavy, not too light. I think they really nailed it there. Definitely a big improvement over the Subaru Impreza that I recently drove. And the ride is okay. It's economy car levels of ride. But with that being said, let's talk about the interior, because this is some big, major improvements for the Elantra. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital dash. I really like this. I like the way it looks. Off to the left is my speed, off to the right is my tachometer, and of course, I could change some settings. However, when I put it into sport mode or individual mode, the gauges don't change. They just say sport on them. I would have liked to have seen some fanfare, something exciting, and I know that Hyundai has that capability. Here's some Kia gauges that change with the drive mode. I find that so exciting and exhilarating, and it really wouldn't have taken much more for the software engineers to implement that into the Elantra. So I would have liked to have seen that carried over from other Kia and Hyundai products. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my voice commands mode, skip track, volume options, and phone. And off to the right, I have my cruise control options. So this does come with radar cruise control, which is really nice. It's called Smart Cruise, and definitely something I'd like to see even at an entry-level vehicle. The overall look and feel of the steering wheel is very modern. I think it looks very good, and I really enjoy it. Off to the left, however, I have this weird-looking circle that doesn't do anything. I understand it's to not just be this blank plastic, and maybe this does things in other trim levels of the car. The reason I laugh at it is because last fall I drove a Hyundai Excel from 1988, base model, and they gave you a Hyundai logo that looked like it would be a tachometer, but it's not. This is like the exact same thing. They're doing the same things 34 years later. I find that hilarious, and I don't think anyone who's reviewed this car in the modern era has made that connection to the 1988 Hyundai Excel, but here we are. Down below that, I do have a climate control vent, as well as my gauge dimmer switch, lane keep assist, and traction control off. Moving on to the door, I do have a really nice speaker. It really reminds me of the Mercedes S63 AMG that I reviewed 2 years ago, which is high praise for a Hyundai. Then down below, I have my power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Nothing really to note. Moving into the center, center, I get my infotainment screen. This uses the very, very, very traditional Kia/Hyundai system. Now, of course, they call it Blue Link instead of the Kia Connect. And I do get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, as well as I can put in a valet mode and such. Here's what the backup camera looks like, which is actually pretty nice and crisp. But other than that, nothing too crazy. Then I do get my climate control vents and hazard switch. And then I have my climate controls. So I am definitely using the heated seats today, as well as I do have auto off to the left and dual zone climate, which I am a big fan of. Anyone with a significant other is going to be a big fan of dual zone climate. Then I do have a 12-volt outlet and 2 USBs. One is strictly for the charger, one is strictly for the media. And then we come down to the center console. Off to the left, I do have my drive mode select. So like I said, there's normal, sport, and smart. Then I do have a parking camera button. So this is giving me basically the rear view camera, but just while I'm in park, and I don't have to put it into reverse, which is a nice feature. Then I have the power parking brake and brake hold, and then I have the shifter itself. Now, I haven't dealt too much with this style of shifter from Hyundai, and I really like it. The button is hidden underneath, pretty straightforward, but still feels very modern. Speaking of modern, the whole center stack is a little bit angled towards the driver, but then it becomes very obvious with this giant sort of divider, much like a Toyota Supra or C8 Corvette, that sort of moves the passenger away from the center stack. Kind of an interesting move by Hyundai. This is a very basic economy car, and yet it has these really nice sporty design cues. But then we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Hyundai Elantra, and wait a second, ladies and gentlemen, the Hyundai Elantra passes the big friggin' bottle test with absolute flying colors. Cars in this segment normally do not pass, but this is why we do it, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I wake up in the morning, because there's always a chance that something might pass, and today my dreams came true with the Hyundai Elantra SEL from 2022. I did get a little carried away, but there is something really cool about these cup holders. So they are pretty deep. Obviously, like we just saw, it fit the big friggin' bottle. However, you can pull this up, spin it around, and then click it in there, and then they're not as deep. So if you want deep cup holders, you can have that, flip it around. There we go. Now they're deep. Really cool feature, and I feel like more makers should do this. Then I have a center console with nothing in it. The seats are decently comfortable. Like I said, they are heated, which is really nice for one step up from base. However, they are still this fabric material that looks pretty cheap, and I would imagine we'll have seat covers on it in the next 10 to 15 years. Probably some really gaudy Realtree ones from AutoZone, but that's okay. Speaking of seats, however, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2022 Hyundai Elantra SEL, and the first thing you note is that it actually is pretty spacious in terms of leg space. Headroom, my head is starting to hit the ceiling a little bit. I'm 5'11", obviously not a small guy, and that's okay, but it's just ever so slightly starting to touch my head. Knee room and leg room is actually really nice and a big surprise. I don't get a center console. I don't get any vents or chargers down in the middle either. So it's a pretty bare bones back seat, but like I said, a more comfortable one than you might find in a Mazda 3 of the same year. So something to take note of. Speaking of space, however, let's talk about the trunk and cargo space. All right, so we're on the back of the Hyundai Elantra. Here we do have the key fob, press and hold, and it will release the trunk. Now, we do have to pop it up the rest of the way. We do get this nice cargo net, the nice Elantra badge, but also plenty of space back here. This is something that I really love about sedans, is that space in the back. I can also pull this up. We do get a spare tire and some tools down there. Other than that, nothing really too crazy to write home about, besides that I do have these pull tabs to release the back seats, but pretty standard stuff from there on out. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is one of my personal favorite parts of the new Elantra. Reason for that is take a look at the 09 Elantra that I did. Take a look at the mid-2010s one that I did. They're ugly. I'm not gonna lie, they're ugly automobiles. Well, I think this is actually pretty decent. I know it's covered in snow today, and I'm sorry, I can't change the weather. But I think it actually is a really good looking vehicle, and I think Hyundai did a really, really good job. Hyundai themselves are really, really stepping it up. And so let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a 2022 Hyundai Elantra? Well, that's just it. I think Hyundai is tremendously stepping up their game, and we've seen this gradually over the last decade. Because I can now proudly say I've driven a Hyundai from the 80s when they just dipped their toe into the American market. Of course, in the early 80s up in Canada, they had the Hyundai Pony, but for the American market, they started with the Hyundai Excel. And that car, although it was a very cool experience to be driving, wasn't a very good car, even for the 80s in the year of economy with no airbags and no ABS. That car was not great. And then in the mid-2000s, that 09 that I did with this quote-unquote Coke bottle styling, it was fine. It was a fine car, but it wasn't really a competitor in terms of quality to the other big guys. Honda, Toyota, Nissan, Mazda. It competed decently well with like the Focus and American stuff. Haven't really cared about quality in the last 20 years. But now, driving this car, this does feel like a really quality competitor to the Civic, to the Mazda 3. And honestly, I think I like this better than the Corolla, at least in its current fashion. I'm sure the Corolla will get refreshed at some point soon. I like the technology in here. I like the digital gauges. I think it adds a very, very modern feel to this car. I like the center stack design. Feels new and sporty. Heated seats are great. The driving experience isn't amazing, but honestly, there's not much of a difference between this and a Corolla in terms of driving experience. This is now a worthy competitor to the big names. Something that in my mind, at least personally, I haven't felt about a Hyundai. I've always felt like Hyundais are a little bit second rate, but my mind has changed. This is a good alternative to those vehicles, and I didn't really think I would find myself saying that, but I am happy that I am. It's a good little car. Does it blow me out of the water in any category? Not really, but that's okay. Not every car has to. Huge thank you to Toyota of Naperville for letting me take out their Hyundai Elantra today. They are absolutely awesome. We've been working together for over 4 years at this point. They have great customer service, just really, truly great people over there, and I can't thank them enough. Their information is up on the screen as well as linked in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.